We have a handsome alert in studio, everybody.
A handsome
You're
alert.
being too kind.
It's not you, Al.
I didn't know the Lord made him like this.
He's an author and a pastor. His name's WIlkerson Jr., and he has a book called Sandcastle Kings, Meeting Jesus in a Spiritually Bankrupt World. And he's mostly known because you officiated the wedding for Kim and Kanye, right?
I did, yeah, absolutely. Number one, thanks for letting me be on the show today. This is my first time being like an official radio.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I've never done. This is like really cool to me. I got, like,
Really?
all of
Really?
you guys, yeah, like this is awesome.
Well, that's an honor
I
for
want to
us.
I don't know, like be on the ones and twos or something.
like
Is
a-
that radio talk?
You go, come over here and push buttons.
See, this is the thing. Some of us are kind of a different kind of DJ. Like, we don't do that kind
Oh,
of
okay, I'm sorry.
DJing.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
more- But you can.
Sorry, that was like
You can press
that was
the
like an
buttons.
insult.
Listen,
No,
Rich.
not at all.
Oh, no, we're not qualified to do that.
If it makes
okay.
us cooler in your eyes that we scratch and stuff, then yes, we do that.
I like that.
We will lie to the pastor just this one time.
Well, I have to ask because that's so cool. I remember watching the wedding on TV. How did that even come about?
You know, my dad pastors a church in Miami Gardens in Miami, and I was on staff with him for a whole lot of years. I had a youth ministry, young adult ministry called the Rendezvous, and lots of different people in that time come through. And I don't know, a few years ago, Kanye came to church, and with a friend of mine who was one of his really good friends,
Yeah.
and we just became friends. I know it sounds so strange to people at times, but he continues to be a really great friend, and so. He just kept coming to church, and I think he brought Kim one Sunday, and we just throughout that year met up a bunch of different times. The engagement happened in San Fran, and we got to be there for that. And
You were there?
yeah, it was a special day. And so, I don't know, it was just kind of natural when they asked us. And I think the only thing that was unnatural to me is that I just never dreamed that it would become a story by any means or that anybody would ever talk about it. And I remember coming back from the wedding and having everybody in the world, and people at media at our church, I'm going, man, this is
Yeah.
nuts. I just was not prepared for that. And
Yeah.
Sure.
people get married all the time. You don't know who their pastor, priest, or
Well, it was kind of a small wedding, right? I mean,
It
as
was
big
small.
as
It
it
was-
seemed.
For how
on a
big they are,
scale.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
small,
kind of. It didn't seem like a lot of people
were
were there.
Beautiful. It was
Yeah.
private, and that was the other thing too. I think anytime someone gets married, anybody, that's a pretty private thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to follow their lead with how they want to go about that. And so I've never really felt like it was my place to talk about their special day. And so
No.
you come in and it's like everyone's got a microphone in your face. You're like, what is going on? I'm just trying to go back to church.
And people
so
probably offer you a lot of money to spill some secrets, right?
that never happened, but
No?
but maybe one day they would. But
They didn't
there is no
offer-
really. It was just a beautiful
Oh,
day.
I think it's so cool. Can you as a pastor wear Yeezy boosts? Does
Do
he
you
give
have Yeezys?
sneakers? I really like those sneakers. I'm sure he gave you a pair. Can
I'm-
you wear them as your?
I'm a big shoe guy. I don't know if you are.
Yeah.
I love shoes.
I gotta
Yeah.
get this. I gotta get the Eminem
These
Jordan.
sneakers are cool.
So yeah, I've got a pair, and so it's nice for him to give me a pair.
Sure, why not?
They're
Yeah.
impossible to get.
Yeah, they are very hard to
They
get.
actually
They are.
They get released.
Not
this
if you know the
weekend.
Lord.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Please make sure I get the new Yeezys.
Good for you,
So,
man.
let's go back to the first time Kanye walked into the VU. Right,
We
is that
are
what
going
call
to
it?
talk about your book.
We
Oh,
are.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no.
But, we got to ask about the scoop, too.
Yeah, no.
Did you get nervous because you're about to give your sermon and he walks in and
I think I get nervous every time I get ready to preach
Yeah,
and every time I
jitters.
get ready to speak, and so I don't know if I was any more nervous because he was there. I think that there's all sorts of people that come through all the time, and so I think it was really cool that he came through. I kind of found out like later into the service that he actually made it.
yeah.
This
That's
is-
better that way, right?
Yeah,
For you?
yeah. This is a few years ago, so I don't remember all the details. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it was really low key. Came to church and left. I don't think anyone really even noticed he was there. I think he wore a hoodie or something.
Oh, that's
Please
great.
don't tell me he did that thing
A
when the
hoodie to
offering-
church.
when that offering plate comes by and just hand it to the next person on the other side.
I don't know. I don't know about any of that.
No.
Makes me
not,
laugh.
not
though.
to be stereotypical, but you don't look like a typical preacher.
Well, describe
Yeah.
what Rich looks
Well,
like, Jenna,
because he has
because I
a-
can't do it
he has-
because guys will make fun of me.
He has a cool hairstyle, trim
Thank
short
you.
on the side, style T-shirt,
You look like you'd be in a
sharp
band.
blazer.
Really?
You look like you're in one of those modern
Will you tell my
bands.
wife that? Because I want her to think I'm cooler.
No, you are
look
cool.
hip. So, what kind of approach? I mean, when you do your sermons and stuff, what kind of approach do you take? Because you obviously are. You look hip.
You have
so
to be
I'm
relatable.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
would imagine
The nicest
you preach to
interview
a
ever.
younger congregation, right?
Yeah, I think that. Look, I grew up in a Christian home. I'm 4 generations Pentecostal preacher, like on both sides of my family, and so I grew up in a strict conservative home. Grew up with lots of rules. Kind of in like my high school years there, I kind of was like, I'm not into this. And then honestly, 17 years of age, I was in Australia of all places with my dad, and I kind of had this what I would call like a God encounter sort of moment. And it was more of like not an emotional thing. It was more of like just a conscious thing of going, man, I just know what I was put here on this earth to do. And I sort of made like a conscious decision at that moment to say, I'm going to walk towards this. Now I've made plenty of mistakes since that moment, but I kind of had this determination to say, this is, I want to do this. And so I think the biggest thing when you're saying what's been my approach has always tried to be as authentic and as transparent as we possibly can. And so, yeah, we've got a young congregation, but I really think that people today are looking just for, people always go, what's relevant? I don't really know what's relevant. I think you just got to be you, and that is relevant. I think when we're absolutely who we are, being transparent with our weaknesses, our faults, I think that's what people are attracted to the most. And when I think back about church on Sundays and when I hear people say anything good about a sermon, it's not usually the sermons where I'm projecting these great strengths. It's always about, man, I shared that story about I'm a doubter too. Or I shared that story of going, man, I walk in fear in that area as well. Or I've got anxiety in that space of my life as well. And I think people relate to that the most. And so my approach has always just been preach the Bible, try to show people that Jesus is probably better than they thought he was, and use your life as somewhat of a place to laugh at yourself and go, hey, let's not take ourselves too seriously.
And I know with Kanye, it's like, I know a lot of what he does is for show. You probably know a different side of him than we all see, the showbiz side of him. And I've always had the problem with him comparing himself, in my opinion, to Jesus on a regular basis. Does that bother you at all?
Well, I think here's the thing with life, life, and I in so many ways, is that we kind of live in a world today that if you ever disagree with somebody, it gives you the right to disrespect somebody. Or on the other side, if you don't agree with somebody, it's like, oh, I can't accept you. And I just think what our message at our church has always tried to be is we're a place for everybody, and everybody's welcome in our church. And I think that we go on the journey with people. I think people are on the journey of faith. And I think so often, if we're not careful, even in this book, what we're talking about, Sandcastle Kings, that I think so often we look around society, people are building sandcastles and calling themselves kings, and they fall apart. And one of the key sandcastles I talk about is religion. Yeah. And religion is this idea that if I do enough good things, then God will be pleased with me. And if I do enough bad things, will then God reject me? And so I just think in my life, I don't feel like my job is here to judge people. My job is to point people to Jesus, and Jesus changes people from the inside out. And so really where I'm at with different people and their actions and their behavior is not really what I kind of build my ministry on. And so
you just point them in the right direction.
Right.
So, hey, Jesus over here.
Because you said we are
go over there.
Because we're as lost as ever. You said because we're into material things and which don't bring us happiness. I read that you were talking about that. Is that what you talk about in Sandcastle Kings?
Yeah. Honestly, that book. A little parable Jesus told was a story about a wise guy and a foolish guy. Wise guy built his house on the rock. Foolish guy built his house on the sand. When the storm came, one guy's house stood strong while the other guy's house fell. And I think I've heard that story since I was a little kid.
You had the song about it.
Yeah.
Foolish man built his house.
I actually have never heard that. Oh, I do know that.
Yeah, the wise man
How have I
built his
forgotten
house
about that
upon the
song?
rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise
Keep
man
going.
built his house upon the rock, and the rain came tumbling down.
Take it all away.
Just the drums.
Yeah.
So, but you know what's amazing about that story, whether or not you believe in Jesus or not, is that what's interesting is that both the wise man and the foolish man have to face the storm. Yeah. Meaning wisdom doesn't prevent storms. And I just really think that life, you can't prevent storms, but you can prepare for storms.
Sure.
We know that they're coming. And so, yeah, I think we look around life today and we're building our lives on shaky foundations. I do it at times. We all do it. It's not like, hey, I've figured this all out. It's going, sometimes I build on me if I can have the right accomplishment, success. Other times I build on others. I love my wife. We've been married for 9 years now. Met her when I was 17. But the reality of it is that my wife, she makes a terrible God. She can't, she just can't do what God can do. I don't have a Don Cherie-shaped hole. I've got a God-shaped hole. And we all watch Jerry Maguire, and so it messed us all up because he says, you complete me. But people don't actually complete us. They actually just compliment us. And then some people build their life on religion. I've done this so many times going, God, I'm doing like all the right things. Why am I facing so much opposition or obstacles? I don't get it. And I find that sandcastle falls down. Or it could be the sandcastle of the world, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever those things are. We all know those things bring satisfaction for a moment. Yeah. But man, if it's not fun in the morning, it's probably not fun ever. Okay?
Exactly.
So we've all been there.
And you also you're stepping foot into reality TV.
Yeah, pray for us.
Rich and Faith is the name of the show. It's going to be on Oxygen. What's that show going to be about?
Yeah, that show is one of my best friends in the world. Actually, my best friend since I was in high school is a guy named Jason Kennedy. Jason is a host on E-News.
He married,
He married
girl from here.
Lauren.
Yeah, do you guys know Lauren?
Yeah.
She's from here. She's from this area.
I'm a Facebook friend.
Hello.
Right.
You know how that goes. Yeah, we've never met, but
Yeah,
her
let me
story is
scroll.
very
You guys
well
should have her
known.
because
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
got
her-
such a cool story.
Yeah,
Sure.
she was the girl on the Christmas lights tour.
amazing
who,
story.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
I
the
mean,
propellers caught her. It was terrible,
Yeah,
but
it's a tragic story.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of beauty attached to it now. Jason, honestly, has been my best friend since high school. I met him when I was 15.
well, how about
Crazy.
that? Small
and-
world.
Isn't that wild? And so he went to University of Miami, was a part of our church for a lot of years, moved to LA, has done a very good job for himself. And just the opportunity came along. Juliana Rancic, who also was a former host there on E! And this idea came about of going, man, it would be fun to try to tell or try to give people a glimpse of what we think local church life looks like, along with what it looks like to step out in faith. And so this concept came about. My wife and I were on staff with my parents for 8 years. And now, in fact, just about 9 weeks ago, we just planted a brand new church in the downtown kind of Miami area. It's called VU Church, which is short for Rendezvous.
The VU.
Yeah. Long story there. No one can spell rendezvous, and so it just always became VU. So
Yeah.
rendezvous just means meeting place. But really, the show kind of follows that space of us taking the step of faith of going, all right, mom and dad, we're trying to go for it. All of the fears and worries of that of going, just how are we going to do this? We have no staff even to this day. It's a bunch of just volunteers going, we believe in this thing. It also just follows our marriage, of course, but. Someone was asking me the other day, like, is there a lot of drama? I think that everybody in our life has some level of drama.
At some point
I
or
don't think
another.
we have to create that or curate that. I think that that's there. I don't think that it's negative drama. I don't think it's this kind of salacious show by any means. It's a positive show. It's a show that we're trying to bring faith, hope, encouragement to people. Of course, you want to do that with entertainment to some degree. And I just feel like it's one of those spaces. I never was a reality TV person, never watched it. God bless people that do it. But I do believe it's a language of our culture.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to be a person that's taking steps towards communicating with our culture.
Here's something that I really struggle with.
Yes, sir.
So I own a bar, right? But I'm a Christian person.
You own a bar.
I own a bar. It's a sports bar.
Is this a hypothetical? This is true.
No, this
No.
is true.
Oh, okay.
He really owns a bar.
No, I thought you were giving me like a hypothetical. Okay.
So a guy walks into a bar.
Guy walks into a bar. What do you? I'm like, I
this
can't
is
follow.
personal.
No. This is something I struggle with.
Yeah, tell me.
So my customers drink. I sell them drinks. I drink. But also on Sunday morning, I try to go to church.
Right.
I love that.
So, but my struggle is, I'm selling something that could be interpreted as
The devil water.
devil water, okay, for lack of a
Right.
better word, and that's how I make my living.
I hear you.
But how do I reconcile that at
You're
the
a
end
great
of
guy. You also need to understand that he's one of the most generous people
Oh,
I've ever known.
I
Like
can already tell that.
he really is
No, I
as
can
a
already tell
person when
that.
it comes down to it.
But I know this is probably a more than a 60-second conversation.
No, I mean, I think it's-
Private counseling session.
I'm just
Pastor.
asking. I'm just asking. That's always been something that I kind of struggle with. But
Yeah.
I'm just asking since
Well,
I got you here.
I think that number one, you have to ask the question: why do you feel like you struggle with that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Is that because of the projection of what people are saying about you or putting on you, or is that something that you feel like on the inside is something that you have to handle? I think life is always about conviction. You know what I'm saying? And so God gives us His Word, but then there's layers to that. As we grow in our faith, there's new convictions, and so there might be something today that I'm refraining from or not participating in, not because it's necessarily right or wrong, but because I feel like the Lord's leading me in that space. It would be silly for me to take my convictions and project those upon you. I think when it comes to things like alcohol, yeah, there's clear indications of God's Word. It doesn't say not to drink alcohol. It says don't become drunk on alcohol. I don't think that you're necessarily always responsible for how people decide to, participate in alcohol.
Right.
I think that's kind of you putting yourself into a space of going, man, I don't know if you can really control any of that. I believe that we've got to teach things like temperance and moderation, and we
But
should
how do
learn
you feel,
self-control.
Pastor, about midget wrestling?
Midget wrestling, yeah.
Because he also conducts midget wrestling matches.
Did you think people?
Kelly?
I don't even know about that.
I mean, the alcohol, that's on a
that's
separate
new
issue.
space.
Issue at a time,
I
Kelly.
feel it's exploitive.
Yeah.
I just
I didn't ask
He
you.
puts them in a cheap motel.
I
Engage in that
refuse to
area.
go.
Bring that motel.
That is how they choose to live their life.
I think it's exploitive.
That's how they make their living. One question at a time. Thank you very much.
Well,
brother.
I think that your question's good, but I think that's part of what we're talking about. I think that if we're not careful, and this is just me, once
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
I'm not speaking on behalf of
Yeah.
you guys do go to church, whatnot. I just think that we've kind of reduced the message oftentimes of Jesus down to a message of morality. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that's what his message was. I think that morality is a byproduct for sure of following Jesus.
Right.
But Jesus didn't come to make, bad people good. He
Hey,
came
you
to make
look in
dead
the
people
Bible.
alive.
He hung
In the
out with.
Bible, he used adulterers
Yeah.
for positive. I
Right.
mean, just because you've sinned and messed up, and you think I can never be forgiven for what I've done. You need to read the Bible and see what he did with murderers and adulterers. Those went
Absolutely.
on to be
I think he's in the
leaders
business
in
of
the
using
Yeah.
people that are broken. I would just say for you, in terms of I think the biggest thing is I would never want to answer that question because I'm just like, what is that thing on the inside? Is that just because some people came around you and are judging you, or is that because it's
No,
man,
it's just
Probably
I'm
indigestion.
that's what you got to be authentic and real with. I
Yeah,
think.
Well, I think the midget wrestling's going to keep him out of heaven.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
It's gonna keep me out
all
of
of
heaven.
y'all.
gosh.
Losing his
It's
religion
gonna
over
keep
that
me out
one.
of heaven. They may be church-going little people.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Back to Rich's book,
Yes,
Sandcastle Kings.
Rich Wilkerson Jr.
I'm holding the book right here, Advanced Reader's Copy, Uncorrected Proof.
Yeah, I've never even seen that one with
You
that
haven't?
blue line. That's
Whoa.
awesome.
You misspelled Jesus. Right? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
kidding.
I might
This
have.
is really the proof? This isn't the final product?
I don't know why there's not a final one in here. Leslie, can we get some real ones in here?
No, this is
Guys,
so
I mean,
cool.
Maybe
came
they're
out
not
this
ready
week.
yet.
I would love
Oh, it
to
is
read
out.
that.
This is so cool. Yeah, it's out. The book's already out. You can get it at
Jenna,
source.
I'm very encouraged that she wants to read that because Jenna has said that she's not really a believer. And so that's-
I'll totally admit. I mean, I went to Catholic
Yeah.
school growing up. I was always a very religious person in school and growing up. And then as I've gotten to be an adult, I'm fairly agnostic, I would
You're
say,
saying.
and I don't judge people
that
that
makes me
believe.
happy that you
I
wanna
don't
read
judge
that.
people that believe. I just think. Religion I kind of got a bad taste in my mouth about it from a lot of people that were really bad people, but they went to church every Sunday.
No.
That kind of culture, which happens a lot with my.
This is understandable.
I'm 30 years old. I find a lot of people that feel that way and have a lot of questions about it. So
I think I absolutely agree with you. And I think that there's been a lot of obviously horrible things that we can just look back through history that's been done in the name of religion.
yeah.
And I think what I love about this book, and I think what I love about our message is that it's not, hey, look at me, or hey, look at some experience that you had in your past. It's going, hey, let's discover the Jesus of the Bible, and let's kind of figure out, why is this guy so compelling? Why are we still talking about him 2,000 years ago? And if he is who he really said he is, I think that we should all consider that for a moment, because if he is who he said he is, I mean, there's some beautiful things that he has to offer.
This
Right.
might be too deep and heavy, but why
No.
does God get all of the credit and none of the blame?
That is a very, very great
That's my
question.
biggest
Yeah,
issue
yeah.
with religion, to be totally honest. I think I like to take a lot of self-responsibility for treating people good on this earth and this life. Why does he get all of the credit for
Sure.
the good that happens to us and none of the blame for the horrible things
Yeah.
that happen?
Right.
Well, I think what you just said, which is key in terms of what you just said, is that you like to take self-responsibility. I think the beautiful story about the Bible is not that, God hasn't allowed bad things to happen. I think the beautiful story of the Bible is that God's given you and I a choice of how we want to respond to his goodness. And so from Genesis to Revelation, what we see God's handiwork. I mean, there's beauty all around us. Yet the real problem is not necessarily God, it's you and I. It's that we're broken, it's that we've fallen, it's that we lie to each other, it's that we cheat on each other, it's that we hurt one another. And I think it's this thing called sin, which has led to our depravity, which is why so many of these things that we are frustrated about and confused about are happening. And it's in that mixture of that big cloud of haze that we're kind of all looking through, kind of go, all right, where is God in all this? And that's what I think Jesus came to say is, hey, look at me. I've come with the right message. And so I totally understand and can sympathize with your question, because I feel that way at times as well. I just think that instead of going, hey, why don't we ever blame him? I would go, man, like you just said, let's take responsibility. We in ourselves have done a whole lot of silly things.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Tough to finish a book like this, because I'm sure you have so much left to say that you're like, oh, I want to go another.
And they
another
live
chapter.
happily ever after.
That, or I don't know if I've got any more. I don't know if I've got any more to say, man. It's a lot harder than I thought to write a book. But yeah, I just think that whenever you're working on something like that, right, you're always like, is it fully complete? Is
Sure.
it really what it is? This book is interesting because it follows one chapter of the Bible, Luke chapter 7, and it takes 4 stories from Luke 7. They kind of play as the guide throughout the story or throughout the whole book. So it kind of gave a really cool, clear outline, but how we deviate and how we kind of use metaphor and whatnot has been really fun. And so I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited about it. And no matter what, I think it's my heart on paper. I think it's the greatest message ever told, which is the gospel.
Sandcastle Kings. That's the name of the book. Do you remember how many people were at your first sermon?
Ever?
Yeah, your first one
man,
ever.
I've got a handful. I preached at a youth camp when I was 17.
What'd you preach about?
I preached about Joseph and
Joseph.
being a dreamer. I can't believe you just asked me. I can't believe I just remember that. either.
Isn't that cool?
I preached like 15 junior hires, and I was pumped up. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right.
when I was younger too, I would just yell a lot, like, "Come
Yeah.
on!" Just scaring people.
So you're like Leonardo DiCaprio on Wolf of Wall Street yelling at them?
Exactly. Ooh. I'm doing like weird, like Jesus chants to like 12-year-olds. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm getting pumped up. But Yeah, I don't know. I've got funny preaching stories, you know.
What's a weird, like the worst thing that's ever happened to you
man,
up
I
there?
went to school in Tennessee. I went to school in Cleveland. And man, I would just at 18, I just got passionate, and so I mean, I was like pumped. If I would preach to anyone that wanted to listen. I remember one time I drove 5 hours across the state of Georgia to get to an audience of 5 people, and I still preached with a microphone. Why did I do that? Like,
why not?
Like I'm walking around like, how we doing tonight? It's like, man, like 5 hours to get to 5 people.
Have you ever dropped the mic, or would that be difficult?
That would be awesome. One time I was in Philadelphia preaching. I was probably 18 or 19, and I'm preaching, and this kid steps up in the middle of me preaching and just starts cursing me out. 400 kids.
Wow.
Whoa.
I mean, it was
Blankety blank you.
Oh yeah, I'm like, security, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of ruined the whole night, but I just kept preaching through it.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was funny.
Wow.
Well, now you're preaching to over 4,000 attendees every single week. I mean, did you ever think that would happen when you're 17 years old, getting cursed out by
we just planted a
teenagers?
church, so we're not 4,000 attendees, but we've gotten an opportunity to get to preach at lots of different places and amazing spaces. And, you know, I just think that, I don't know if I ever saw any of that stuff. I think that people always, what's the 5-year plan? I've never had that. I've just kind of done the thing that's been in front of me.
Yeah.
And I think healthy things grow. And so even our church right now back home in Miami, I mean, there's hundreds of people coming right now to VOO Church, and we're pumped about that. But it's never been about that. It's been about the relationships, it's about the stories. I can tell you story after story just from this past Sunday of amazing things that God's doing that is not even in the name, once again, of just, anything other than the fact that God's at work and people are finding a home, people are finding relationships. I think everybody's looking for purpose. I think everybody's looking for connection and community.
Live in the now, too.
Yeah, and so I just feel like we just kind of keep taking a step forward, and God always does exceedingly, immeasurably more than we ever thought or asked.
Wow.
Well, before you leave,
Yes,
Reverend Rich WIlkerson. First of all,
Reverend Rich WIlkerson.
Before you
It took him
leave,
5 years to learn my name.
Reverend Rich WIlkerson, Sandcastle Kings.
First thing, how can people follow you or get in touch with you or hear what you have to say?
Yeah, because you're socially media savvy.
Am I? You know what? We got to do a Snapchat right now because we're sitting in here.
Let's do a
and we got to do
Snapchat.
this live because I want to put you guys on this.
See, I don't know how to Snapchat.
You don't know?
I don't really.
I
We got to
have
get you
Snapchat.
on this.
I have
Carolee can bear-
Snapchat,
I mean-
and I have Instagram.
This is so much fun. So here we go.
Okay.
What do you do?
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Rich WIlkerson Jr. I'm on the Kid Kraddick Show. This is Jenna Red over here. This is my whole family here. Look at this.
Hi.
We got real mics, everything. This is like a real deal right now. We're actually live. We're not live. We're
We're
live.
kind of
We're live.
Yeah, we're live, and we're doing this thing. I mean, this is amazing. So Snapchat, at Rich WIlkerson Jr., Instagram, Twitter. I don't know all this stuff. I think I got off Facebook, though. I apologize.
Oh, no, it's fine.
okay.
Instagram's where
MySpace
it's
is
at.
still living, though, so I got that going.
And our second thing we need you to do before you leave,
Yes, sir.
Rep, is just bless our show. Give us a little prayer before you leave.
Can I?
Please.
We ask
Absolutely,
every
please.
preacher to
Yeah,
come
we
in to
are-
do
We've
that.
had, what was it? TD Jakes came in, did the same thing now. So you
Really?
come in and give us a little prayer before
Is
you
that
step
okay?
out.
Yeah, that's absolutely okay because we usually have Al do it, and he gets so nervous that one time he said, "Lord, please be safe." And I'm pretty sure the Lord is safe.
It's actually really
See,
funny.
my dad's passed away, but even when he was older, I was called upon to do the family blessing of the table,
Sure.
the food before we eat, because I'm kind of the man of the house. So, and I get nervous. I talk on the radio every day, but when it's like prayer time in front of a whole bunch of people, I get a little nervous
I
because I don't
hear
want
ya.
to say the
I
wrong
do too,
thing.
yeah.
And so I have to go to the bathroom and practice. Like,
Yeah, I love you.
Oh my goodness!
But anyway,
you prayed,
before we
Lord, be
leave,
safe.
go ahead and give us
That's
a little
beautiful.
prayer for the Kid
Absolutely.
Kraddick Morning
Okay.
Show and anyone and Kid
Like,
Nation.
do I need to shut my computer?
No, you're
Do you need to take off your hat?
Depends on what site you're on.
Your hat on.
You can pray with your hat on. I love it. Fine.
Lord, we just thank you for this amazing day, Lord. I thank you so much for these incredible people I got to meet today. Thank you for this show, the Kid Kraddick Show, which has been on for a lot of years now, Lord, bringing a lot of people joy every day. And I just pray, God, that every day, Lord, that your grace would shine through this place, that as people listen, Lord, they'd be encouraged. So many things in life, Lord, that stop us from walking in joy. And I just pray that as they turn this program on, that they'd be encouraged, that they'd be filled with hope, that they would realize that there's something to live for, that the best really is yet to come. Pray for everybody on this show. Pray that you bless their lives, bless their families. And Lord, we just declare right now together that great things are in front of us all. We love you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
That was
The
good.
book is called Sandcastle Kings. His TV show is Rich in Faith that premieres December 9th, you said?
Yes, sir.
Please watch that on the Oxygen Network.
And Sandcastle Kings is out. Get it on
Get it.
Amazon,
You guys
Barnes
are
and
the
Noble,
best.
everywhere they sell books.
And go
Yeah.
to church.
Bookstores. Those are cool. Go to them. There's books in there.
Pastor Rich WIlkerson Jr.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.